You're looking for a good MyBookie.ag play tonight? Maybe it's the Braves with Spencer Strider. 20 wins, 5 losses, 3.86 ERA in that crazy atmosphere in Philly. Let's talk a little baseball, see if there's still life for the 104-win Atlanta Braves, Brownie.
And Buster does that with us every week, courtesy of MyBookie.ag. Code NEXTROUND, like Jim mentioned, get a 110% sign-on bonus when you use code NEXTROUND at MyBookie.ag. That is free money. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere with MyBookie.ag. Hello, Buster. How are you today?
I'm doing great. Looking forward to this game tonight. I can't remember a situation in the time I covered baseball where it felt like the fates of one team rested completely on the shoulders of one guy. But that's the way it feels tonight. Spencer Strider pitching in Philadelphia against the Braves, not only dealing with that Braves lineup, but also that crowd.
That Braves lineup has not been great, and that Phillies lineup has, and that has been the difference here. So there was this motivation from this situation with Arcia and the clubhouse. I will ask you, Buster, you have been in many, many, many open clubhouses, and I think it was Travis d'Arnaud that felt like there was some sort of violation. Who was the player we played earlier?
Was that d'Arnaud?
Okay,
Travis d'Arnaud.
Yeah, that felt like there was some sort of code violation there. As a guy that's done it many times, do you feel like there might have been a little bit of an unspoken code between the media and the players that was violated there?
I love Travis d'Arnaud. He's one of my favorite guys to deal with, and he's completely wrong in this case. Okay. And by the way, when this first came out, I've been around Orlando Arcia a bunch. And when this first came out, I had a question about whether or not maybe this was something where he was misunderstood. He wasn't actually heard. I reached out to Eduardo Perez, my colleague, and I said, do you think he said this? And Eduardo was like, no, I don't see that being him. Well, last night I listened to the audio of it that one of our reporters captured. It was loud, and it was him, and he said it. He was laughing, and then he's like, attaboy, Harper. You know what? With a room full of reporters, in the anointed time when reporters are let into a room, if you're saying stuff out loud, it is on the record and it is on the players. You can have a private conversation with a one-on-one thing, and the player might whisper to you in that time, hey, you know what? I think this guy's a so-and-so, but that's off the record. And that's one thing. It's a whole other thing when you are saying this stuff out loud with all the reporters in the room. That is on the player. It might be inconvenient for Arcia to have this. It may not have felt great when Harper was staring him down. We may not even believe that Harper does two home runs in part because of this, but this is on the player. And the whole thing about it being some sort of violation, that's ridiculous.
Outside of the 7th and 8th innings in Game 2 in Truist, this Braves offense in 24 innings has been inept, to put it best. And Spencer Strider going out there tonight, the only 20-game winner in the bigs. In the regular season against Philadelphia, he's been 8-0 in his career, but in the postseason, he hasn't been good. What Spencer Strider do you expect we see tonight?
I think he'll pitch well. And I think that I mentioned the idea that he has to put the team on his shoulders. He's fully capable of that. But I also told you guys last week after I walked out of that Phillies clubhouse, where everything was on the record, by the way, I absolutely believe like nobody's beating this team. They are so motivated. They're so locked in, especially playing in front of that crowd. All of the guys who were rookies in last year's postseason, they're all in their second year. The Stotts and Bohms and those guys, they are so comfortable right now. So I think that, you have to have a Spencer Strider who's as close to perfect as he can be, beating them with that, that slider, maybe mixing in a few change-ups against the likes of Bryce Harper and beating them at the top of the zone with the fastball. He can do that. I think the weather's going to be good enough. It's going to be perfect for a pitcher. But it's going to be tough for the Braves to win tonight, no doubt about it.
And Lance mentioned the Braves, who I think led the majors in runs scored and home runs this year. 7 runs in 3 games, 2 home runs in 3 games. Do they look like they're pressing more and more, other than those 4 innings in Game 2? They seem to be swinging at pitches not ideal. They're sort of out of the zone of where they usually make their big hits.
And that seems to be a common denominator with these teams that, won their divisions and got knocked out, right? The Orioles did that in their series against the Texas Rangers. The Dodgers certainly did that. Dave Roberts, their manager, mentioned that after they lost game 2, and I think the Braves have done that. And that's why I think Strider, I mean, everything is on his shoulders because he's got to keep the Phillies off the board. He's got to buy time for the Braves hitters to get comfortable, to get in the game. And the nice thing is, from the Braves perspective, is Ranger Suarez, who starts for Philadelphia, to me is very underrated. They'll have a lot of relievers after him. It's going to mostly be a bullpen game, I would imagine, 3rd or 4th inning. But I do think on paper the pitching matchup could go the Braves' way.
Am I wrong, though? The Braves also were pretty good at scoring in the top of the 1st inning, too, right? That would help tremendously tonight.
Tremendously. Like, a home run by Ronald Acuna Jr. to lead off the game would be huge. And I actually liked his plate appearances last night, right? Taking the ball the other way a couple times. Be interesting to see, see what their reaction is to it today. Marcell Ozuna is another guy. I think in a big moment, bright lights. I'm curious how he responds tonight.
Buster Olney is with us, and he joins us usually courtesy of MyBookie.ag. Code next round when you sign on to get that sign-on bonus up to right there at 110%. That is free money. Bet anything, anytime, anywhere. MyBookie.ag. Free money right there for you. In the event it goes well for the Braves tonight, and they get back to Atlanta, it is going to be an all-hands-on-deck pitching if needed. Snitker is getting some criticism for doing what he did last night, starting Elder. What were the other options there, Buster? I mean, what else do you do if you're Snitker?
A lot of imperfect options. I completely agree with your question. You look up and down that, that staff. It wasn't like he has a ton of great choices. I was texting back and forth with folks in the Braves staff as they were preparing this decision, and they talked about possibly starting some relievers. They talked about using the opener. In the end, I think what was most important to them in that game last night is that they get out of the gates clean, because we've seen so many runs scored in the 1st inning in the postseason this year. So they wanted the starting pitcher to be a guy with a relatively low heart rate, who could handle that that big crowd in Philadelphia. And Elder did that. Like, it wasn't like they gave up all these runs early. I felt like, as I watched this play out, that Snit was a little bit slow in going to the bullpen, because it felt like when Elder started to lose it, man, he went fast. But again, even if you had taken him out sooner, given the questions in the Braves bullpen and the lack of dominance that we saw like in 2021 when they won the World Series, I don't necessarily know if he has a ton of great options there either.